Cities are huge, so I'm fully aware that most of the stuff I'm talking about is local and specific. Cities are massive. Some get lucky, like the city of Bath. Hang on, I need to show this one just around there. City of Bath, just had totally inspired planners when they did this sort of thing, and they can. No one would dream of this is ancient and modern simultaneously to be there in 1,000 years. They probably retrofit buildings with biogas by then, but you wouldn't want to tear down any kind of design like that. This is Mexico City today, so you look at the kind of challenge we've got when we're talking about retrofitting our cities and reducing our climate emissions and like, whoa! And this is New York today. This is the converted High Line Railway. It was an old railway track, so that says a lot about what can happen. So as introduction, we've come a long way. All of our ancestors used to live like this. We've come a long way from this to this. This is the human journey. But we've also come to this. And this. And this. Yeah. And if the whole world wanted to live the way we do, we need another 2 planets to have enough trees to cut down and the things we like to do. And we're pouring out the carbon dioxide emissions, 1,000 tons every second, 24 hours a day. So if, we have a temperature, it's like, and it looks like that, the sun's reaction is, oh my God! Daddy, you're going to die! The Earth's temperature, that's the current rise, that's where it's going. That's the entire stable 10,000 years of stable climate is coming to an end. Again, we're collapsing it. The 10,000 years of stability that gave us civilization, we're about to collapse it. We're currently here on the process, but the top scientists are saying there's no way we're going to be able to control temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. We need to start planning for surviving at 4 degrees because of the embodied carbon infrastructure built in. Unless we have we've got to do something. They're saying 8% to 10% reduction in carbon emissions per year. So when I hear that, it's great, UVic's got 10% off its natural gas. We need to do 10% per year reducing our carbon footprint if we're going to stave off disaster. And that all the heat is going into the oceans. That's where the so-called climate stasis is coming from. It's heating up the oceans, melting the Arctic, messing with the jet stream, etc. We have an emergency. We need to be way more dramatic and radical in the way we approach it. Way more Salterish. Take a naught off the end and add more ingenuity. Is that a verb? You've got to be a verb, Salterish, right? The coastal cities, Vancouver, a lot of Vancouver's below at sea level. Go to a parking lot below a house in Vancouver, got below sea level. Massive implications for a lot of Vancouver. This is yesterday's storm in the Philippines. Yesterday's headline, but at the time they thought the fastest, biggest storm ever to hit the planet. Now it's one of the top 4. And the last time the temperature was 3 degrees warmer and the sea level was 25 meters higher. That's a lot. This is the natural biogenic carbon dioxide. This is how much we've reduced since then by burning fossil fuels. This is how much more we can afford to burn before we blow the 2 degrees Celsius barrier. That's how much the fossil fuel companies want to burn because it's listed their share value reserves. All that must remain in the ground. When I was Googling faces of oil company executives, they all look ridiculously cheerful. Except for this one guy who was in charge of the meltdown in the Gulf. It's all about the power of our dream. It's really important to get a clear dream of what we want to achieve. It's why I'm remodeling myself as a futurist. You can't do it unless you can imagine it. Obviously every planner knows that, every engineer, but we need to know it as a culture. We need to create our future from our desired culture, not just by copying the past. And we need to, the pain of, oh, we've got to change because it's so awful, will go on until the beauty of the vision pulls us into the future. So what is our vision of a beautiful, desirable future? That's the question we really need to get clear on. I've got 10 themes I'm covering in this. I better get my little timepiece out and make sure I'm not way over time. I started late, so I presume you carried on late. Catch up time. The return of nature. This is currently, we're lucky. If the city's got that, you're really lucky. New York Central Park. It's a gorgeous set of lines. The lead time, if you take a thing like that, that's an old abandoned water tower in Israel, you can do that to it. You can turn it into a sort of home for wildlife. drill holes in it, cover it in greenery. You can bring wildlife into the city. You can create, insect condominiums in the backyards. This is an animal wall in South Wales, with homes for bats and swallows and other kinds of birds. This is London Fieldworks, created as a sort of mini condominium for birds of all different shapes and sizes and insects and stuff like that. Getting the kids back to nature is another important part of this. So, in the heart of the city, you've got the movement of children restored to nature, of outdoor schools is really important. So, sort of to use the greenery we have to get the kids understanding it so they're not stuck on their devices or stuck in the anti-social media. Please note that term, the anti-social media. This is changing the hearts and souls of children to get them at a deep level realizing the joy of nature. And this is in the heart of the city these models come from. We can turn a concrete schoolyard like this into something like this. That cost them 1.25 billion. They raised the money, they did it. So there's the transformation. This is current stuff. This is actual housing by the Wunderwasser, the architect, which shows what's possible. We integrate colour and delight and community and nature. That's what it looks like today, right there in the end. That's it, there it is. You can do this kind of thing. This is Patrick Blanc's work, with a lot of greening up of city buildings in Paris, in Madrid. 15,000 plants, 250 different species of plants. All the insect life that goes with that is there as part of that building. The heart of London, you walk down the street and suddenly you come across this in Piccadilly. In Japan, 35,000 different plants there. This is a 10-year-old building in an area of Paris. Look at the back right-hand corner. That particular tower is called the Flower Tower, designed to kind of replicate the park. And close up, basically, that's what it looks like. Some of those trees clearly need watering, but that's another story. This is Switzerland, banking sector. This is a planned tower in Singapore, where you're integrating high-rise and greenery. That's what it looks like close up. This is the way visions are building and happening at the moment. Anyone who knows London knows the Gherkin, the cylinder at the very front of the building. Well, they're now looking to develop panels that can be retrofitted into the building that actually have greenery in them, so the whole building will look like that. This is not just architectural fantasy, this is planned to happen. This is right here in Surrey, one of the transit stations. You can't get more concretey than that until you do that to it. The Vancouver company called Green Over Grey done that transformation. Beautiful, amazing, inspiring. And a lot of the person behind this is Patrick Blanc, who's been setting up Patrick Blanc, apologies, who's been doing the work to get this going. Edith's hair is green, please note that. And this is visionary stuff of where we could be going in city developments when you really integrate nature back into the kind of way we live. Maybe over the top, this is our plan for China, in Shenzhen. Is this your dream home in the future? Hands up. Who would be happy living in something like that? 1, 2, like 2% of people. Who would be happy living in that kind of setup? And who would be happy living in that kind of setup? Way to go, you see that? Because that captures individuality and the greenery. It's interesting. Second theme, the energy aspect, the climate aspect. How do we deal with this? Primarily applying to building things. In cities, it's buildings. I come to transport later. In Britain, by 2016, every new home must be zero carbon. That is the law of the land. That's just a model demonstration site. In California, by 2020, every new building must be zero net energy. So this is a driving thing. So the legislation, if we're going to do the best legislation, you strengthen your climate action legislation the way we need to do right now. It's all not going to sleep. It has gone to sleep in British Columbia. The new Green Building Code, with all new buildings are required to be zero carbon, zero toxic, solar-ready, EV charging, and energy labeled. Energy upgrade required at point of sale. So if you're selling a house, you must upgrade it to the new building code first, and for any permitted improvement above 20,000. Sorry, the numbers aren't working. All buildings over 10,000 square feet are required to track and report their energy use annually, so there's someone being responsible for this stuff. On-bill-based financing for energy upgrades, so they're self-financing through loans coming from the utility or from taxes. And sustainability checklists for developers, so you no longer waste any time building crap and nonsense. and rebuilding grants, education, technical services to assist in the doing of all. When Architecture 2030 is leading the drive on commercial buildings, I'm not going into energy efficiency alone, that I take it for granted. We need to retrofit a huge amount of stuff. When the New York Empire State Building had its real detailed sustainability retrofit, they got 38% reduced energy use by just 6 particular technologies they embraced. The passive house design, building like this, does not need heating until it's below -10, and does not need cooling until it's above 35 degrees, purely by envelope design. The passive house, we're very proud to have, are the Bernhardts here today by any chance? Here in Victoria to have, you know, Mark and Bernhardt, who've actually built a house and tracked its costs, who discovered that the construction costs are only 4.3% more per square foot. It's using 90% less energy, and on a monthly net financial basis, their savings on energy are more than the increased mortgage for the 4.3 extra cost. So every new building could be a passive house from now on, without any financial penalty. And the Bernhardts are doing a webinar for the BCSCA on this coming Tuesday lunchtime. Just go to bcsca.org, you go to events, you'll find the details and you can sign up. It's free Tuesday lunchtime. LED lighting, code for a whole bunch of stuff around electricity efficiency. And LED chandeliers called Thixiotrapes. Fascinating new technology emerging in the process of LEDs. In Britain, this is the one particular development. They're combining 63 kilowatt solar, 30 kilowatt biomass boiler, air source heat pump, ground source heat pumps, etc., to really drive the carbon footprint, not just down, but into the negative carbon ratio. So it's actually, it's negative carbon energy. Bennington Zero Energy developed in London. Again, reduced, they got every trick under the book there. Basically, this is an example, because they had a combined heat and power plant from using local tree wastes, which, same as Victoria Dockside Green, failed to work first time round. It ran into difficulties with the quality of the fibre and stuff like that. So they had, this is you know, biomass central CHP, you know, 1.0, and not to 3, 4, 5.0. Renewable energy heat pumps. This is the fundamental solar source, moisture, all these things. So I'm renaming air source heat pumps solar heat pumps. What is it? Heats the air, for goodness sake. It's the sun. Nobody knows what an air source heat pump is. Trained us as advertising on television. I asked my wife, Carolyn, what is it they just advertised? I haven't a clue, she said. They say it's a train, it's indestructible. Because no one understands, you know, the coefficients of efficiency, and the engineers are clearly in charge of the marketing and advertising, but no one understands how heat pumps work. According to solar heat pumps, people will line up to buy it. Simple as that. The ductless mini split solar heat pumps. There you go. The Octopus solar air moisture heat pump. Never seen one of these in North America. These are in Northern Europe. 50 to 75% reduced heating cost using air moisture, 50% lifespan, operates down to -25. They're throughout Europe in really cold weather temperatures, so perfect for Canada. They just happen not to arrive here for the last 20 years. That is a crucifix ice stick heat pump. Ground source solar heat, or solar/geothermal, I never know which way the argument comes out. Instead of digging, over here you dig a trench. In Europe, they're doing radial drilling. With a device like that, you can go and make one hole in the wall and drill around the corner, the same as the oil and gas sector does, and, you know, 24-hour retrofit for geothermal drilling, as long as you've got soil and not rock to go through. Water source solar heat. The Performing Arts faculty at Brentwood College, on the Saanich Inlet in Mill Bay, is actually heating itself with water from the Saanich Inlet, even though it's hypothermal for us humans. It's a lot warmer than absolute zero. Ice source heat, this is not solar heat, this is coming from the Richmond Olympics, heating up buildings nearby, and then solar hot water on Westcon Victoria in Sweden. Rizhao, China, 90% of all the buildings using solar hot water systems. Regular housetop system, that's myself and my wife there, Carolyn. Carolyn is the issue, she wrote the book, The 0 Mile Diet, and all that sort of stuff, so we get into trouble together. Regular system on a house in Victoria. Solar thermal district heating, this is Calgary. At Okotoks, where in the thick of winter, -20, they're heating themselves with stored summer heat from the sun from the summer. So those panels on the roof are purely for the domestic hot water system. The panels on the garages gather way more energy than needed, pump it underground into a district energy centre, which is there, where there's no groundwater extrusion, doesn't lose the heat, pump it back in the winter, And it keeps them warm and cozy in November and December from stored solar energy. The same now has been done throughout Germany, in Europe, where all those roofs are using stored solar thermal. And the European solar thermal industry is planning that 50% of all building heat will come from stored solar thermal by 2030. Sweden, we got the Hammarby project that Stephen was just talking about, using heat from treated sewage effluent to heat 80,000 apartments. And then the district heat loops can tie these things together. The pre-insulated piping Stephen showed us. So you can carry that heat 24 kilometers with a decent pipe with virtually no loss of energy. So you can combine rural and urban and interesting stuff like that. Then we move to solar PV. This is in Freiburg, Germany. The solar revolution is right with us, happening. The stuff that's going on around the world. Taiwan, this is a soccer stadium. That's all solar revolution. But what's interesting is the mathematics of this. So you've got the falling price of solar and the rising production. You've got phenomenal solar revolution, a 7,000% increase in solar uptake since the year 2000. And this is the incredible forward price from $100 a watt down to less than $1 a watt for the actual silicon. So in Germany the price is half of what it is over here because of all sorts of other balance of system stuff, not to do with the actual silicon. But here we look at Victoria. The 1.3 kilowatt system on the roof here in Victoria. Right now it costs 15,000. If you get 30 people together in close area, it's 12,000. I got a quote for that. If you happen to be in Britain, you could buy it for 9,000 at IKEA. And when IKEA gets here, they won't do the same because we don't have a feed-in tariff. And that'll generate 3,300 kilowatt hours a year. So with current solar economics, assuming a gradual increase in the price of BC Hydro, you're borrowing the money of a 3% mortgage, and you know you've got your income from BC Hydro for what you're not spending. If you do it right now, at $5,000 a kilowatt, you'll lose $9,000 over the investment. By 2020, if the cost per kilowatt's down to 3,000, and you're getting more money coming in because the price of electricity is rising, you're now in pocket by 2,000. And for every year on then, you're in pocket. So it makes total sense to put solar on your roof if you've got a 30-year time horizon, and you've got a system for repaying the loan tied to the energy bill or a future mortgage, so the person who's buying a house buys into the energy repayments. You haven't got to write it off at the time of sale. So if you look at the human journey, that tiny sliver of time is this era of fossil fuels we're living in. And we did 500,000 years of using solar energy in the form of firewood, 200 years with solar energy as fossil solar, and 1.75 billion frigging years of renewable energy. Once we get there, once we're there right now. The sun is not going to do anything nasty for 1.75 billion years. So what we're engaged in is the launch ramp into, it's the engineering skills, the scientific skills that enable us to make the solar panels. So we can really celebrate fossil fuels and then drop them yesterday, because we've got the engineering skills we do. They weren't wrong. If we'd not done fossil fuels, we'd have cut down all the forests, killed all the whales, and gone back to the Dark Ages. Theme 3, sustainable watersheds. Water and watersheds is a brief one. All those are all lost streams in Vancouver, covered over with concrete. This creek, restoring creeks, this creek just yesterday, for the second time, had chum salmon return after 120 years of absence, because of the community restoration effort on the border with Burnaby. Getting conscious of our water use in the household is going to be really important. Composting toilets in the home. Let's allow it at least. Rainwater storage, water filtration systems. This is Seattle's bioswale system to reopen the creeks, get the rainwater back into the creeks, to get back into the watershed. And that's what it looks like. So you humanize your neighborhood at the same time. Now look at this, water conservation credits in the year 2032. A builder seeking a permit for a new home. Water conserving actions in existing houses earn conservation credits. Water conserving companies retrofit existing homes and collect the credits. Serve them to the builder to qualify for his building permit. Net increase in water use is zero until you've retrofitted the whole community and squeezed all the value out of water inefficiency. So you don't need to burden the system. It's just a clever financial system for solving. Reclaiming the streets. It's all about reimagining what's possible from that sea of concrete. You can go to a subdivision design course at Mosen College, or you could do 10 years ago, and learn and get a certificate in how to design the worst possible subdivision you could ever imagine. and feel proud of your knowledge in doing so. You know, you've got the official highways width for the street in, and you never considered a single social or environmental issue. It's really bad. So we're getting used to these, you know, curb build-outs. These 10 years ago they didn't exist. Now we're beginning to normalize them, and we can improvise them. You can plant enough, you can enjoy them. You can begin to envision whole streets and what they look like differently when you do this sort of thing. So this is San Antonio, Texas. This is called What a Thrill Street. Well, I called it that. Probably got another name. And they got a grant for a very bold adventure to retrofit the street for one day. To see what it might be like, they brought in the team, you know, put the stuff up, play, and then suddenly they brought life back to the street to show what's possible. And then they stripped it out again. But this is Texas, for goodness sake. So, you know, they're looking at what's possible. This is Medellin in Colombia, where they're putting in a major new system of skyways to link the hilly communities. And under the skyways, these are with ski lifts. Taking a regular street, retrofitting it just like that to bring back humanity to stuff. This is the Cheonggyechon in Seoul, South Korea, when what was a double-lane highway, right in the heart of the city, got retrofitted. They restored the creek that used to be there and made it look like this. And I was there last year on a speaking engagement, and I walked the whole length of it. It's just absolutely stunning all the way through. And this is the 5-6 Korean activists campaigning for the release of the Russian, the Greenpeace people who are in Russian jails, on the creek itself in the heart of South Korea. This is the High Line converted railway in New York, you know, which used to be a dead railway, bringing life back into the city. This is the visualization of that same High Line for a campus retrofit. So now campus, how do we retrofit the whole campus on the spirit of what the High Line is giving us, because it runs through the campus. This is an imagination of Brooklyn Bridge, what it could be like in the future. When you these kind of images, they say, oh wow, we could live like this. This is a bridge, a new bridge across the River Thames that's being planned as a total garden bridge for pedestrians and cyclists only, with a forest built on top of the bridge. And this is actual planning. This will be built, from what I understand. And it integrates into greenway design, construction and planning on either side of the river. So you're on the bridge, this is your experience. So it just changes the whole concept of what it's like to be in a city. This is a road in Porto Alegre, Brazil. It's just, they kept it there. They know this is the inside of the city. The heart of the city, you're living in that thing, because trees just bring in this nature back to the city. This is on the banks of the Seine in Paris. Just this last year, they've done a whole retrofit project and taken out pouring concrete and brought in all this other stuff that's going on in Paris now. Play. Yeah, it's about play, it's about people, it's about community, it's about celebration. And people just love it, they come out. So you've got a concrete wall, make it a climbing wall. Over here they say, oh, we've got to have risk insurance liability queues, you've got to sign up. The children must never touch each other. Like. Paris, they just did it. Like, hey, lazy hammocks. Yeah, just for the grabbing. And nightlife. This is the Place de la République that celebrated where the Bastille used to be in 1850s. Wonderfully pedestrian. This is in the 2000s, the same land. And they said, the mayor of Paris, the Green Party, said, yes, I'm done with this, let's retrofit it. That is the same land today. Last year they opened it, they're retrofitting the whole of that, you know, that's plaza, back to this. And it's amazing, you know, they're bringing life and humanity and sociality back into the city. So, what about thriving neighborhoods 20 years ahead? This is the work that City Repair has been doing in Portland, Oregon, to get people reclaiming ordinary intersections. This is an ordinary street, the street party process, just the process of closing the street for a day, getting a street party out. Hands up in this room who has been to a street party in the neighborhood where you live. That's actually really good. That's progress. I would like an annual street party weekend in August, when every street does it all at the same time. Then we start, what about redesigning our settlements? So you've got neighborhood built into the way you meet in the home system, you know, together. Pocket neighborhoods, where you actually meet your neighbors who want to hang out, and stuff like this. So co-housing does it all the time, but we need to generalize it to all developments. So if your planning proposal comes to the planners and it doesn't include this sort of thing, take it back, bring it back to the pocket neighborhood, with a community fire pit where anyone can have a barbecue together. Make it normal to have housing designed to build a sense of community, whether it's old-fashioned or new-fashioned. This is a shopping mall that's all building or parking lot in Missouri. And the design charrette said, look, we can fix this problem for the same amount of shopping value and space. Do that with it. Rip it all down, retrofit it, Now, America's really keen on traditional neighborhood development, or the architects are, I wouldn't say America. And because it brings back a sense of connection and community, which is really going down the tubes in America right now as they're fighting each other so much. This is in Japan, where clearly a density transfer happened for the one tower on the right, but on the left, you've got this wonderfully winding, neighborly, community, beautiful space. This is one of Hundertwasser's work very similar in Darmstadt, Germany. And the whole design of the rooftop gardens built into the nature of the building. And this is probably 20 years old. So bringing food back into the city is my sixth theme. This is the wonderful image that the city of Vancouver uses to demonstrate their vision of becoming the world's greenest city. The engineers are being repurposed. Street markets, when the Moss Street Market was formed by a friend of mine 20 years ago, it was the only one in Victoria. Now they're jealous of each other because there's too many and they've got enough trade and the farmers can't keep up. But reclaiming the front yard, for food-growing purposes. Reclaiming courtyard space for growing food. Reclaiming space between, overhead viaducts. Vertical growing. There's plenty of walls in our cities. There's plenty, you can go to the parking lots and look at the dead concrete wall at the end of it. Nothing happening, no imagination applied, no commercial value real estate applied to it. If the city just put out a contest for all those dead parking space walls and said, we're going to give you a $5,000 tax break for the wall that is the most innovatively redesigned without it being a mural. People would step up to the plate and do stuff. Vertical growing whenever you have stairs like this. So this is the heart of London. This is Fulham Palace, where for historical reasons, the palace kept control of its grounds, and then it became a London Gardens back in 1921. So this is totally surrounded by buildings. It's a Google Earth photo, and you zoom in, and you begin to see this thing that's happening. That's just, oh my God, what happened there? The image is gone from that particular one. It shows, growing food right in the heart of the city. And so, getting fruit trees back onto the streets. So people say, oh, well, my goodness, they're going to be flies and insects and stuff like that. So you have a fruit tree picking day as a festival, and everyone goes out and picks the fruit. There's no problem in Valencia, Spain, with their, damn it, I forgot the name of the fruits. They're not oranges, they're not... Persimmons, there we go. And clearly, there they are on the street. We can do that sort of thing. And then just to celebrate food in the city. So how do we do the transport without fossil fuels? And it starts with getting our cities back to make them beautiful and safe for walking. Graben Street in Vienna, and now Times Square, New York. Just I think it was last year, the year before, they stripped all the cars out and people were astonished. Oh my God, people like walking. This works wonderfully. Getting the children used to it. It's atrocious. Is that funny? It's atrocious when the mummy and daddy drive their kids in the SUV everywhere and get them used to it, and the kids end up whining and complaining because they're not getting right in the SUV. This is the key to it. You get your neighbours involved in a walkability audit to go out and analyse the walking, what's doable, where the problems are, where there's a tree in the middle of the sidewalk, and you take it back to City Halls and you get a financial costing to it, and you analyse it out in 5 years, and you priorise investment over highway development, blah, blah, blah. Cycling. In Amsterdam, in most big cities in Amsterdam, 40% of all the trips that I've done with bicycle, it's totally normalised, not a bicycle helmet in sight, because it is safe. And they're not rushing. As a cyclist, you learn to rush because you're safer if you get similar speed with the vehicles and they see you as an aggressive cyclist. You didn't need to do it in Europe anymore. You can happily enjoy life while getting everywhere you need to go. But it's got to be about separated bike lanes, not just a painted line in the road. Downtown Vancouver, I'm not sure where that is, but you're getting your double barriers there. Again, a good planter barrier. To San Francisco, where they improvise these plastic cones, could easily be done. Any painted bike lane in Victoria could put up those plastic knock-em-downs right now. But their cars will get painted. The more obstructions there are on the road, the slower the cars will go as well. This is a new bike park just launched in Cambridge, which glows in the dark, using A sprayable coating of light-absorbing particles that harvest UV rays from the sun using quantum technology. It's Cambridge, let's go. But that's a new kind of servicing. And then you add to that kind of thing, well, you've got bike sharing projects happening, electric bicycles. Electric bicycles eliminate hills. Hands up who has ridden an electric bicycle. Okay, hands up who has not. Okay, here's your, I guarantee you pleasure thing. Go to a bike store in Victoria, ask to do a trial of an electric bike, and take it to a hill. You're heading along, you come to the hill, you switch on the electric drive, and the laws of gravity cease to exist. You think, whoa! So North Vancouver, electric bikes, and you can have electric bikes, and the feeling of like, oh my god, it's hard work on the hills, vanishes. It's really enlightening what electric bikes do. And the cost of electricity is so non-existent, you can plug it in for free at any employer, it's virtually free. That's a folding electric bike, which you can use wearing high heels. Volkswagen bike. Electric scooter, electric tricycle, bike parking becomes a big issue you've got to plan for and think ahead for. And then we have the LED bike with a night, there's your night bike lighting and night, say that 53 times. Night bike lighting, oh my god. And there it is again. This is what's possible. Having fun with bikes on that. There we go. Transit, obviously. Hello. Stockholm, there's the buses running on biogas on the Steep and Salzburg, right? Buses, fast charging electric buses in Sweden, where the bus can run all day long, 18 hours a day. Just as a fast charge when the driver's having a rest at the end of his loop, and he's back on the road. Cost almost irrelevant. Online electric charging for transit in South Korea, in-road charging, where the bus can pause over that piece and get some inductive charging from the road itself. And Japan's future electric buses, the way they're planning ahead to get, if you're going to have a factory making electric buses, you need a 5-year planning horizon to do that sort of stuff. They know it's coming. Real-time electric timetables, not a single one of these in Victoria. Bus shelters. I should show you, the typical bus shelter in Victoria is a single post in the ground. Unless you happen to be in a legislature. It's absolutely shameful on lack of bus shelters. You can be really creative with bus shelters. Then you have light rapid transit type of greenery, skylight rapid transit back in Colombia where you've got hills. And then real-time ride sharing, you're starting to get towards cars now. So actually, you can use your device to actually go online and find who's going the same way as you, and the drivers do the sign. And then car sharing. And then we have peer-to-peer car sharing. People put their own car into the pool. So the car share co-op no longer needs to buy a vehicle. If you own a car, you can earn up to $300 a month by having other people rent it from you. And all the barriers and the problems around, oh my god, the cost of the insurance are covered by the regular car share information technology and insurance agreements that are now you sign on to with peer-to-peer car sharing. So you can have a neighborhood block with 2 or 3 cars instead of 20. So this really changes our use of the roads, and what the roads no longer need to dominate us. Then we have electric cars, Chevy Volt 2,500 kilometers and 1 tank of gas, because it's a gas hybrid. Look at this, the new Volkswagen XL1, 312 miles per gallon is its rated efficiency, and it's got a plug-in hybrid, so it's got a battery with a 75 kilometer battery range. This is hyper expensive at the moment because it's got probably polycarbonate and plastics and all sorts of stuff. But everything starts expensive and comes down in price. But 300 miles per gallon is pretty impressive. This is an electric vehicle that's taking France by storm right now because it's under $10,000 for a 2-seater, similar to a smart car, under $10,000. If in BC that was sold and you include a $5,000 electric vehicle rebate, you can buy that for $5,000, which is just twice the cost of an electric bike. Not available over here yet. 100 kilometer range, and it's 2-seater. The same thing being charged up. The smart car, just on the market recently, the Tesla 7-seater, 350 kilometer range. And we're in the very early days of electric vehicles. So this is possible and happening. Electric vehicle charging. Then we look at photovoltaics for electric vehicles. And typically, if you put solar on the roof, it'll cover 8% of your distance, so forget it, it's not a big deal. But a 1.5 kilowatt system on your roof will generate 1,500 kilowatt hours to carry you 10,000 kilometers. So you do the maths on that, that'll cost you 7,500, 3.5% load will cost you $37 a month, versus gas will cost you $80 a month. So it's cheaper to have a solar electric vehicle. Of course, it's way cheaper to have a hydroelectric vehicle, but if you want to have fun with the sun, you can do your car. Of course, hydro is also solar power because it's solar assisted gravity. But there you go. Electric car, fast charging, etc. Electric trucks for local town delivery. Big trucks end up stop out of town, offloaded to smaller trucks so you can actually maneuver these things around the streets. This is in Holland right now. These are electric trucks already on the road in Britain. Overhead electric trucks. And then here's the bonus. If you combine electric vehicles and bicycles, you eliminate a lot of the noise of our cities. You get back to that peace and quiet. And also, you take out the fossil fuel pollution, you get back to clear skies. The way it was after 9/11 when the planes stopped flying. Because we take it for granted the pollution that's there. You don't see it in Victoria when you go to Port Angeles. You look back and say, whoa, we're sitting in a immaculate spot. So then we come to the need for a strong, green, local economy. And our first thought, oh, well, our farmers' markets, we'll buy our local food and stuff like that. But I want to get 8 levels more sophisticated. So we know every time you shift a book purchase to an Amazon-type operation than a mainstream shop, you gain 14 jobs delivering, and you lose 47 jobs in the bookstore. Every time you buy an out-of-town product, you get $0 recirculating in the economy. When you buy from a chain store in the local economy, $43 stays local and circulates again and again, giving you $125. If you buy from a locally owned business, $68 stays in the economy and gives you $198 recirculating. So there's a huge importance about supporting the local economy because of the way in which dollars circulate in the economy. So if we're building a community economy for this future city, there are 8 dimensions we've got to look at, assuming we want to have full harmony with nature and tackle the climate crisis too. So number one, benefit corporations. Changing our corporate structures so they become benefit corporations where their directors are legally required to be a benefit to the community as well as maximize share value. Anyone already a benefit corporation in Victoria here? I know we have some. Yes? Good. I'm under pressure to become a benefit corporation. We haven't done it yet. Number 2, green business certification. So when you go to a store, you see the 1 to 5 stars in the window, similar to LEED, that you've got a certification process, and you know that what you're buying is helping to restore the world's ecosystem and not destroy it. The same way that the Living Building Challenge does for buildings, we should be able to do it for every single product we buy in the store. Number 3, village business networks. Based on the phenomenal success of the Emilia-Romagna district in Italy, where a whole host of small businesses are tied in together, they pay 2% of their profits into a collective pot to do joint marketing, joint training, joint bidding, joint financing, all sorts of stuff. And they have the strongest economy in Italy. This came out of the response to fascism in the 1940s. That they had to sort of fight fascism through cooperative thinking and actual cooperatives themselves. So number 4 is that cooperatives have a network. They similarly put 2% of their profits into shared marketing, shared networking, shared support. The single most successful enterprise in the world is Mondragon in northern Spain, which survived the entire Spanish economic collapse. It's got 100,000 people working there, all as members of the crop, all as they own their own bank, their own university, their own welfare system, and they have like 200 different businesses. Values-based banking. So this combines innovations such as interest-free banking, which is happening in Sweden, debt circles, community currencies, microfinance, local business lending, credit unions, and a Bank of British Columbia to underpin the whole thing. So we're not, the government puts its savings into a local VC bank and uses it to sort of guide development. Community welfare and basic income. If we don't address the poverty issues, we have lovely bijou green buildings that the expensive architects and engineers live in, and everyone else is still living in shit if they can afford anything at all. So we've got to radically change the way we think about poverty, because the number of people who are disenfranchised and living marginally is growing all the time, or depending on 2 or 3 incomes. Number 7 is a different affordable housing initiatives, from legalizing cooperative ownership and many people living in one house like that, to backlane housing like this in Vancouver, to rooftop things like this loft cube, you can actually walk on top of a roof, and community land trusts to change the ownership structure so we can have, people understand what land trusts are, to get land into community ownership for residents. And then this is all such new stuff. We've got to educate ourselves around what this stuff is. There's a lot of material here that we don't know about or haven't learned about. We've got to have study circles, courses to learn how we do the economic equivalent of the green building revolution. So, and when this is part of the paradigm shift away from gross national product to genuine progress, that we're looking at what is it that makes people happy, what is genuine progress? And the indicators of happiness are to do with neighborhood connectedness, access to nature, relative income equality, issues like this that feed into our happiness and not just money, money, money. So, beginning to wrap up now, thriving artistic culture is a really important part of our future. So, whether it's, there's so much I can't go into here, but there's a lot of backseat type fun that we can have. That when you get an engaged community, they start having fun like this, right? There are so many opportunities. All they take is one guerrilla muralist to have fun, right? Is that the hint? It just takes creative muralism. This is in China now, as you cross pedestrian crossings, spreads greenery, right? And this is the beginning. And then we have locally held Victoria, McCaskill Street, right? Hey! You do it yourself, right? Hey! This is Jack, put your hand on Jack, Jack and Laurie, organised their street to get this mural going locally, because it was a boring old concrete wall, right? And then the wildlife, the turn of wildlife gets a bit scary here. You begin to watch notice in the city. Whoa, where'd it go? And this is the street in Oxford, my sister actually lived in. That is not photoshopped. That is a real dead shark with very good waterproofing insulation in the attic. And then bringing back love into the city. I was in Vancouver recently, the trees were wrapped up like this. And our own mural here in Victoria. And then what about the sidewalk? So we can have electronic sidewalk poetry. All built into the sidewalk. All this stuff is possible, right? And then the celebration of artistic stuff through big celebrations, concerts, stuff like that. Finally, we've got to have engagement, participatory democracy. Community engagement is the key to every single thing that's covered here. We've got to get the young people engaged. That 27% voting turnout is just painfully awful. Right? Electronic ballots, voting age reduced to 16, transferable voting in City Hall, and $100 tax credit for voting, which is revenue neutral. Designing the future community meetings, so we're beginning to get excited about this future, think about it, make it happen. And we're looking towards a happy, resilient city. We have all of these things. Lower transport costs, cheaper and healthier eating, lower housing costs, more friends, more community, more inner space, more financial security, lower energy costs, clean air, clean sky, quiet city, healthier political realm, less poverty, fear, homelessness, more friends, more happiness, more love. Yay! Happy?